Joe Biden, of course, is finally getting out of the basement because apparently the polls are getting closer, a lot closer. As you would always expect, because whenever you approach Labor Day during an election, everybody knows this always happens every single presidential election, where the polls start tightening up, especially in the battleground states. And that's exactly what's happened. So Joe Biden, on Monday, he was discussing COVID. And I got to ask you guys this. And he did this, by the way, he did finally come out of the basement. He had this press conference and so forth, but he wouldn't accept any questions. You have to listen to this clip because can this guy really lead the free world? You have to listen to this. Here it is.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it. More lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
What did he just say? I have no idea what he just said. I mean, more lives than the last 100 years COVID has. No, well, what is he talking about? I mean, he can't get his facts straight. Clearly, look, my understanding is when he was growing up and all through, as well as through adulthood, he had a stuttering problem. So I'm very sympathetic about that. But I do believe, without question, the man has early stages of dementia. I'm not saying it's super serious, but it's serious enough that he clearly can't get through the most simple of comments unless it's right in front of him. And even then, maybe he makes mistakes. Guys, I know that COS, you're nonpartisan, but as nonpartisan watchers of this particular press conference, I mean, do you have kind of an opinion about what it is that you're seeing? Are you concerned?
I definitely do, Mark. I really don't understand how someone gets to the point of being the representative of one of our two parties to the point of running for president when it's so blatantly obvious that he can't keep a coherent argument or thought without a teleprompter. And I think it's a really sad reflection on his family. And that might be harsh to say, but it really, I'm dumbfounded. I don't know how it got to this point.
In other words, why did his family allow him to do this if they knew he was really this far along?
And I think we've witnessed the degradation. He's just declining consistently. It's just getting worse.
It's like real time, like you're literally watching him getting worse and worse by day because most folks his age can't take that level of stress and they don't have that kind of stamina. And so, as you know, stress does affect your mental health. It does. You need, and the older you are, the more time off you need, the more sleep you need. It's just normal. And Joe is still in great shape, by looking at him, but not his mind. What do you think, Matt?
I will say that, I've heard Trump talk a few times, and there's certainly some questions about his ability to put together a grammatically correct sentence.
That's a fact. Well said.
But that particular clip on Biden definitely was incoherent. Although I will say that I'm not quite as old as him. And that sounds a lot like sometimes when I talk. So hopefully we can edit those out as we go through this podcast.
But how did the Democrats manage to choose someone who is less articulate than Donald Trump? Because Donald Trump, despite what you think of him, maybe you support him, maybe you don't, whatever, it doesn't matter. At this particular point, for the purposes of this podcast, what does matter is if you're the Democrat Party and all you've been complaining about for 4 years is how Donald Trump can't articulate anything really well, and then you choose Joe Biden, who can't even articulate at all. I mean, what a bad mistake this is.
In hindsight, I don't know. I know when it happened, when Bernie had some headway, Bernie Sanders, in the primaries after Iowa, and he started to get some headway. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, there was a shift in momentum. And I'm pretty sure that came down from on high from the Democrat Party. And I don't know exactly why, but all of it went from Bernie to Joe. They had a lot of other choices there. I think the only person out was Kamala, who ended up as the VP at that point.
and to answer your question about how does the Democratic Party choose Biden? Because it's not necessarily about the politicians. The federal government is such a humongous organization with bureaucracy and non-elected personnel, non-elected representatives of the people. And that's actually why you're here. We're here where you invited us to talk about that as we get closer to the Convention of States topic.
It's true. And of course, that is true. We're going to talk about the Convention of States and is it time? We're going to define it and what it is. And but we have a couple more clips to discuss first, just for fun, because this is always a fun thing. So once again, Joe got out of his basement a second time this week. And this just happened, actually. He gets out of his basement. He has a couple of pizzas in his hands. I don't know why. He's carrying pizzas. They're in the boxes nonetheless, but he's carrying them. He's dressed up in a suit and tie and looks like he's going somewhere to deliver them. I don't know why. And then there's a heckler. And the heckler hits Joe really hard, and it's actually quite funny. And quite frankly, it's also fair. It's also quite fair because the heckler is asking questions that I think that most people are thinking, because the media won't ask Joe anything. And Joe's campaign won't let the media ask him anything either. Nonetheless, we have this clip, and here it is.
Joe, hey, Joe! You finally got out of the basement! Hey, Joe, who paid for those pizzas?
Thank you very much for bringing
Hey, Joe, who paid? Somebody gave us steak! That's right, Joe!
Don't
Somebody
jump.
gave us steak.
Don't jump. Don't jump.
You're fracking now, Joe!
Thank you,
You're
sir.
fracking now! You were against frack! Now you're full frack!
So that was Joe saying, don't jump, don't jump. What did that mean? Don't jump. I don't understand.
The guy was probably up on a balcony, and it was the only comeback he could come back with. The guy was probably leaning out a window or on a balcony, and that's what.
Because the guy was out of camera, you couldn't really see him. And then the guy goes, "Oh yeah, and also Joe, first you were for fracking, and now you're against it." So, the media won't ask him, so now there's a heckler.
Yeah, that's the fear of being a politician, is that you never know what you're going to encounter along the way. But I will say that these moments really tell a lot about the individual people that are involved in politics. When you have someone off camera or someone off a cuff that asks a question or makes a statement that is just almost kind of random, and see how they respond really tells where they really truly stand.
It's so true. And I have to tell you something. Joe, of course, is finally getting out of his basement because the polls are getting closer, because both parties had their conventions. And the Republican convention caused a larger bump for their candidate than the Democrat convention did. So now, of course, Joe has to get out and actually campaign. And so you can use COVID as an excuse as much as you want as to why you can't get out and campaign. But the fact of the matter is, this is an election, and you still got to campaign. You still have to show up. So he's showing up. And another reason why he's showing up, and another reason why the campaigns are getting so close in the polls, is because of the simple fact that the Democrat Party won't speak up against the riots. I'm talking about forcefully and unequivocally.